Hey guys, welcome back to another Ticket to Diamond video. In today's video, we're going to talk about Akali's build, her abilities, her combos, and at the very end, we're going to talk about 3 of the top tips to make sure you can carry your solo queue games on Akali. So make sure you watch all the way until the end. And all right, let's start the video and get into Akali. All the way back in Season 4, after I had just started playing Ranked, I got my first pentakill, and it was with Akali. She's always been a loved and hated champion, but she's never really been balanced. She's either been broken or absolutely gutted. And for most of Season 10, she has been gutted and has held a 45 to 46% win rate in solo queue. Then in good Riot fashion, they buffed her for Worlds, and this consequently increased her usefulness in solo queue. And she is now one of my bans along with Samira, which is a whole other video. She is back and definitely in a healthier spot than before. Get a few practice games in under your belts and you'll be on your way to gaining more LP with Akali. She's also a great solo queue champion because she is a great flex pick, has good mobility, and can carry early skirmishes. Akali's passive is Assassin's Mark. Whenever she uses an ability on an enemy champion, she creates a ring around them for 4 seconds and grants her movement speed while moving away from them. Once she leaves that ring, she gains more movement speed towards them and gains an empowered auto attack for 4 seconds. This empowered auto has double her basic attack range and deals a lot more damage. Akali's entire kit is based on this passive empowered auto attack, so make sure that when you are practicing her, you weave in these autos between abilities to get the most DPS. Akali's Q is 5-point strike. She unleashes a bunch of kunais in a certain direction that deals magic damage and slows when hit at max range. This is Akali's main way to proc her passive because it is on a 1.5 second cooldown. So many of her combos revolve around her use of Q, get out of the circle, auto Q, and repeat. Akali's W is Twilight Shroud, which allows her to go invisible in a shroud for 5 seconds while also giving a short movement speed buff. Another bonus of this ability is that it restores 80 energy, which allows Akali to get another ability off like an extra Q combo. Akali's E is Shuriken Flip. She flips in the opposite direction that she fires her shuriken, and if it hits an enemy, it deals damage. If it hits an enemy or her shroud, it marks it for 3 seconds. She can then reactivate her E to fly to the target, dealing the same magic damage. Hitting the first part of her E can proc her passive, but this is a risky ability to use because if you miss your target in a close 1v1, they might be able to escape. You should also consider using your E backwards in order to gap close more consistently. The damage from her E can be the deciding factor in a fight, but if you need assurance for a kill, then definitely use her E to fling you towards the enemy, not away from it. Akali's ultimate is Perfect Execution. The first cast of this ability sends Akali towards an enemy champion, dealing physical damage, and then after 2.5 seconds she can recast to dash in a direction, dealing magic damage, which is increased on the target's missing health. This is her execute and is an amazing ability that can be paired with her E to pull off some crazy plays. The most basic combo on Akali and the one you will use most of the time to trade in lane is Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack. In longer and more extended trades, you can use your shroud to give you more energy for another Q auto. A classic all-in combo is Gunblade into your ultimate, auto attack, Q, shroud, auto attack, Q, auto attack, then use the second part of your ultimate into another Q. This combo is a little long and tries to optimize her passive as much as possible, but if you don't need that extra damage, then you can definitely go for a shorter combo to get a kill. But this is a classic one to practice so that you can learn how to manage your energy, passive, and time before your ultimate runs out. I also didn't include an E in this combo because it can be tricky to weave that clearly into a combo, but you should try to learn how to weave an E into this combo and figure out how best you can do it. The most important part about Akali's combos is using them efficiently to get the most DPS while also not running out of energy and also not missing your E because then you'll potentially lose a kill. So make sure you are practicing on how to use your shuriken flip efficiently into your combo, and over time you'll be able to discern what abilities you need to use in order to be the most helpful to your team in a fight. But remember that it takes time, so normals and the practice tool are your friends. Don't be afraid to limit test. This champion has one of the highest skill ceilings in the game, and you really need to stretch your limits with her in order to get better faster. Similarly to Katarina, Akali has a major power spike when she completes her Gunblade, and you should be looking to finish this as soon as possible. You won't want to hang out in lane any longer than it takes to finish this item because it will allow you to tear up the other team as soon as possible. Akali has decent damage before this, but gets out-traded after the first couple of levels. When I play against Akali, I know I have a short window to abuse her before she comes online with her completed Gunblade, and I know I can no longer take 1v1s confidently. Akali's ability to have a power spike at her first item is probably way more important than you think. In the current meta, dragons are way more important than they used to be, so being able to stack these early by winning early team fights is important, and it will allow you to put pressure on other scaling champions in the game. After you finish your Gunblade, you can look at a couple of different options. A classic LS approved option is Liandry's Torment. It has great base stats, and the burn with % HP damage is definitely nice to have. Other options like Oblivion Orb are great against champions that will build no magic resist, but make sure that you don't finish Morello unless you definitely need the anti-healing. You can also build straight into a Rabadon's Death Cap if you are very ahead and don't want to buy Magi's. Also, if you do get an early Dark Seal and have the stacks on it, and you're very confident in your ability to get more kills and stay alive, then buying a full Magi's is a good buy after you finish Gunblade. The item I usually go third is Zanya's. Sometimes I'll go this my second item if I'm against heavy AD, but it's a solid third item. Overall, Akali's build is very dependent on the game she is in, so make sure you don't autopilot and you buy every item with a purpose. Even Akali's boots will change game to game. Normally you will take Sork boots, but there's an argument to be made for taking Ninja Tabbies or Mercs in certain games. Here on the screen, I'll show you a classic final build on Akali, but just know that you'll want to continue to modify this depending on the game you're in and the champions you're facing. So when playing Akali, you want to take advantage of her ability to spam Q and take short trades early. She will outdamage most ranged and melee mid laners and actually does super well into popular picks in the top lane like Shen and Renekton. You'll also want to focus on farming well without taking too much harass early, especially from those ranged champions. So your main focus should be on getting your Hex Tech Gunblade as fast as possible. You can also look to punish your lane opponent whenever they go in for CS due to your pretty long range on your Q. You can really bully a lane and get an HP advantage doing this, especially against melee champions. This is one of the reasons why Akali is so viable in the top lane right now, but that doesn't mean she's not good in the mid lane either. Once the laning phase ends, you'll want to make sure you keep up an experience in a side lane. If you're playing mid lane, for example, and the Rift Herald is up, you're going to want to go top lane so that your top laner with teleport can go bot just in case there's a 5v5 that breaks out around Rift Herald. And the same thing goes for Dragon too. If Dragon is up, then you can go bot so you can be right there to help with the Dragon fight or get a pick. This allows you to keep getting gold and experience and put pressure on the enemy team. Akali has great mobility and dueling power, so she is one of the better side laning assassins. She has a couple of downsides when side laning, and the first one is that she's pretty weak at clearing waves when she's behind. If you're behind and don't have enough AP, your Q, even at rank 9, won't last hit the ranged minions, and this can make clearing waves a hassle. The second downside to side laning with Akali is that she isn't a champion that can take towers very quickly. Being a melee AP assassin, her ability to take towers is not really the greatest, and your main goal of side laning is to push a lane to create some pressure, and then look to group with your team to get vision, take a fight, or get an objective. In the late game, you need to be very careful not to get caught out and die. This is one of the reasons why I recommend building Zanya's third, because it gives her more survivability. Your goal should be to take out the enemy squishies, but you should wait for the major crowd control cooldowns to be used before you go in. Use your Shroud to hide yourself between combos, and then use your Gunblade to make sure the enemy ADC cannot kite you. That, along with your Q slow, will give you enough CC to make sure you can kill them without the ADC being able to kite you. If you have any sort of a lead, you'll definitely be able to assassinate the enemy squishies and do more sustained damage to other players on the enemy team. In low elo, you'll want to walk with your team to objectives and not get caught out alone. This serves two purposes. The first one is so that you don't walk out and die, but we all know you're not the one that ever gets caught. So the second reason is so that your team or one of your teammates doesn't walk through a bush that's packed with the other team and just get killed. You can lose Baron and then lose the game from that, so make sure you're going to objectives with your team as you clear vision and set up your own. In the very late game, you're going to want to limit your side laning if you don't have teleport, because in low elo, and honestly pretty much all elos, the team with more members is just going to win those team fights. So make sure you're around your team, especially around objectives, to make sure you can take advantage of numbers and fights. For Akali's runes, there are a couple of different rune pages that you can take. There's Fleet Footwork, Electrocute, and Conqueror. The least common is Conqueror, and I only see pros run this into bruisers like Jax, Camille, and Silas. Electrocute is also used in niche situations into assassins in the mid lane. If there are a lot of squishy champions on the enemy team and you're playing into a melee assassin, you can take Electrocute for the quick burst damage, but the most popular rune and my personal favorite is Fleet Footwork. It allows you to have sustain along with increased movement speed, which in fights and in trades is super key. Okay guys, now for the fun stuff. My 3 main tips to carry on Akali. First one is play safe in ranged matchups and take good trades into melee ones. Akali is really good at punishing melee opponents, even tanks like Shen and Renekton who tend to dominate the top lane. But also as Akali, she has a hard time getting on top of the other. But Akali has a hard time getting on top of the ranged opponents that she's up against. So you're gonna want to play safe and wait for a gank or until you finish your Hex Tech Gunblade, and then you can go all in. But in melee matchups, you can really punish and abuse them by doing your Q auto Q trades. The The second tip to carry is to play around your power spikes. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Akali has some insane power spikes off of her items, especially her first one, Hextech Gunblade. You can literally 1v5 a fight after you complete this. So if you're sitting on enough gold to go buy Hextech before Dragon, you better back and then teleport in or walk there as fast as possible. You also shouldn't be looking to take trades or all-in when you're only a couple hundred gold off of finishing that Hextech. Play a little safe for 3 waves, get your Gunblade, and then you can go ham. And my third tip for carrying your solo queue games, especially in the very, very late game when your team is all packed together and all the abilities are coming out, make sure you are patient. If you just immediately dive onto the backline, you're gonna get one shot, even if you have your shroud. If you get touched by any CC, you're gonna be immediately blown up. But if you wait until the other team uses all of their crowd control, you can go in and use all of your mobility to a point where the other team is not gonna be able to focus you. So figure out what the big ultimates on the enemy team are, whether it's Malphite ulti or Leona, and just wait it out in a team fight. Play safe and then go ham once they all come out and then wipe the whole team. Guys, thank you so much for watching this Ticket to Diamond. If you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button. And as always, it's been your boy Snowta. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.